This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
It is ATL Day Ones, a Wednesday hump day edition. I'm Jarvis, that's Tenitra, and if you listen to us on wherever you download your podcast, we appreciate you because you know what? We're more than likely your first listener today, and we always want to thank you for making us a priority when it comes to your listening habits. And also, we like to thank the people that, watch us and like us and subscribe to us on YouTube. We definitely appreciate you. We are pushing towards 2,000 subscribers. And we want to make sure that if you haven't subscribed just yet, go ahead and do it. We really appreciate you. And wherever you download your podcast, just go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. We'll keep it simple and short today. I'm not gonna threaten you with your life. We don't want to do that every day. T, we got a lot of good stuff on board for today. As you already know, the Falcons start mandatory mini camps. Ooh, who showed up? Who didn't show up? Ooh. Also, the Atlanta Braves. Orlando Arcia looked real good in that at second base last night and at the plate. Is that the permanent solution? We'll talk about that. And for the culture, T, this one kind of threw me off right here. I'll just say this, y'all. The man lost his job, but he did it for the culture. We'll get into all that. But before we do that, we have to talk about the Atlanta Falcons getting started with mandatory minicamps yesterday. And T, one of the things that we've been talking about ad nauseum, and it's starting to get a little tired, I believe a little bit, is the Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder conversation. Now, Desmond Ridder came in and kind of helped add fuel to the fire, right? Talking about wanting to be the starting quarterback and just really honing in on trying to take Marcus Mariota's position because he was brought in to be the starting quarterback, right? I think a lot of people kind of forget that sometimes. But in listening to, him speak yesterday, it kind of seemed like his tone changed just a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Kind of seemed like he's like, okay, I'm still a rookie quarterback. I'm still need to figure out how to be a professional. And in order for me to get ahead of that, I have to lean on Marcus Mariota for those type of things, right? So I think for me, it just sounded like Desmond Ridder's kind of got a little slap of realization, yesterday, or not yesterday, but as they get closer to training camp, July 26th, the report date, it just seems like he's kind of putting things in perspective right now and trying to focus on the little things before he starts talking about, hey, I'm about to be the starting quarterback for this team.
Yeah. And for me, I think he's been consistent, though. I think he has been consistent in his balance or attempt to balance the desire to be that starting quarterback or be QB1, but on the same token, respecting the fact that if he is QB2 or if he remains QB2 for the duration of the season, once it starts, he will be perfectly okay sitting behind someone whom he's long admired. So I feel like that he was just consistent with what he said. And he did also talk about the fact that for him, it's like, but going to your point, if he looks at rookie minicamp and he looks at coming here now to mandatory minicamp, it's like night and day for him. It's like night and day. And what that told me was, that game is speeding up for you slowly but surely. Every step that you take that gets you one step closer to week one gets you closer to game day simulations. And the closer you get to game day simulations, the closer you do see that this is a real thing. But what I love as well is that there's still an appreciation of those around him for who he could be. So I think that's something that, to me, just kind of, and I don't know about you, but he seems like that guy who the wheels are always turning in his head, right? So I could totally see him thinking to himself, let me make sure I pump the brakes, right? Let me make sure that, like you said, I keep that balance that I've been showing all along, the respect, but the pursuit of what QB1 means. But there was a comment that Drake London made yesterday, just in terms of, like you said, the ad nauseum question of how is Mariota? How is Ridder? And he definitely had high praise for Mariota just in terms of him being a veteran and what he's been able to do in the league in the years he's been in the league so far. But he also said something that we've heard consistently, which is the thinker that Desmond Ridder is, the thrower and the strong arm that he has. So I kind of feel like he was just being Desmond Ridder, that is, being consistent with what he said, but I'm sure that doesn't take away from any of that hunger that he has shown us from day one in terms of his true desire, which is to take that spot under center every Sunday.
You know what? I believe wholeheartedly it's still there.
Yeah.
I just think that, when you think about just from because, a lot of people try to build this as a quarterback competition.
Yes.
And I believe that, listening to him, I think he kind of understands it's not really a quarterback competition right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because of all the things that he has to get in line. He has to know how to command the huddle and going into game situations and be put into situations so he can adjust. And I thought Arthur Smith brought up a great point yesterday. He said it's the quarterback job to fix an issue when things go wrong.
Yes.
Like, how do you know how to fix things if you've never been in that situation before?
Right.
Marcus Mariota has been in those positions before. So I think, for those reasons, and, until Ridder gets that type of experience,
yes,
when the preseason, because that's why I think the preseason is going to be
it's going
to be huge for him. As to whether it's not as a quarterback competition, but I think for now, this is not a quarterback competition. I think this is a situation where you have a young quarterback who's very savvy, who knows how to speak to the media, who knows how to put things, and like Drake London said, hey, I have he's a thinker. He's constantly, his mind is constantly churning. So those type of people don't normally say the wrong things. They know what they're putting out there. They put things out there for a certain reason for people to kind of marinate on and think about.
Yes.
So I don't necessarily think that, Ridder has lost any confidence, but I do know that he knows that he has a lot to accomplish and a lot to constantly do over and over and over again before this even think about this being a competition.
Yeah, without or thinking it, but without saying it, because you always have to think it. You always have to think it,
no doubt,
because it's one of those things where it's in theory not a competition, but in reality it is. Because it's not a competition because you haven't gotten into a true game. There's no regular season game to speak of. But it became a competition as soon as you got drafted in that third round, because you're not getting drafted in the third round, which is still technically a higher round, if you will, kind of middle of the road, but kind of higher round. But you're not really getting
the draft.
Yeah, you're not really getting drafted there if you are at least not going to get potentially, or the thought is that, hey, if you get a whiff or a sniff of that opportunity to start, that we trust that you might actually be able to do it. But it's one of those things where I don't think we'll get away from the conversation about who is really going to be the ultimate at QB1. Do I think it's still going to be Marcus Mariota day one or week one? Absolutely. But do I see it being Marcus Mariota week 17 or 18? No. No. And that's why I say that it's still inherently a competition, but it's not anything that you can really compare to until really maybe the first point would be training camp. That's your first pass. And then, like you said, your second pass would be the real deal of preseason games, especially because Arthur Smith kind of hinted at looking at how he approached preseason games last year with players versus how
he admitted that was a mistake. Like, he should have had those young pups going out there, because when you think about it, like Kyle Pitts, a rookie tight end,
who we saw for
save for what? Like save for what? Like, what is there to save? This dude is a house. Like, throw him out there. Like, see what the kid could do. So, but I'm with you on that. I think this preseason we're gonna get a chance to see a lot of young guys play, and they're going to play a lot.
Yes,
indeed. So speaking of, we're going to continue to see a certain Atlanta Hawk, DeAndre Hunter. Looks like he's going to be sticking around for the Atlanta Hawks, because the reports came out, I think it was according to Jake Fisher, that they were the Atlanta Hawks were looking to extend DeAndre Hunter. Now, T, you know how my mind started going. My mind started churning a little bit. I think I may have some little Desmond Ridder in me. So I might started thinking like, okay, if you're gonna keep DeAndre Hunter around, with the draft 10 days away, and there's also reports that they're trying to move up into the lottery, potentially get a guard. So does this take Atlanta out of the running for another superstar to go along with Trae Young?
I don't think so. And I hope not. I truly hope not,
Okay.
because I do think that one key piece that was missing, or that will be missing again, is that veteran leadership, right?
Right.
And I'm talking about like a true leader, if you will, because yes, Bogey is a veteran, Bogdan Bogdanovic is a veteran, Danilo Gallinari is a veteran, but they're really not those kinds of guys, right? Clint Capella is probably as close as you get on this team, assuming that we probably won't see Lou Williams again. But Clint Capella is probably the closest that it's safe to say. But CC's probably the closest you get. And Lou Will, you brought him back that second year more so for that veteran presence and being able to help players like Onyeka Okongwu really master the pick and roll for the second unit, to prepare him when he has to go and be in that space for the first unit. Those are the intangibles that you need out of a veteran that you're simply not going to get out of moving up in the draft to get somebody. Now, what I think it might be is it could be a bargaining chip, could be another bargaining chip. It could be some part of a packaging deal, if you will, because we know, and I'm saying the Hawks as in we know that, hey, us at 16 probably doesn't really get anybody excited. But boy, if we move up to say 7 or 8 or 10 or whatever, move essentially within the lottery and get that pick, who knows what leverage we can possibly have. But yeah, I definitely hope that there's no that this doesn't mean there's a turning away from the possibility of bringing a veteran in to really shore things up, especially because in my opinion, you kind of need that I think you need that if you're going to go more in shoring up that backcourt. I far be more comfortable and confident with them going out and getting somebody to complement Trae Young at the 2, if you will, versus maybe going out there and getting a rookie. And what are we doing, Jarvis? Are we waiting another year or two to see them get back into contention for Eastern Conference? Because that's kind of how I feel. I don't think that this rookie class has anybody as stellar as, some of the past couple of years. So
not immediate. Like there's no LeBron James type prospect out there that's going to come in year one, or Ja Morant,
right.
Even more.
Or Cade Cunningham. I don't think we got that.
Cunningham to come in like, oh, this dude going to be the real deal. I don't think that
Anthony
guy's
Edwards.
out there. Yeah, Anthony Edwards. and he even took some time to kind
of. And it took
develop.
Exactly. It took him a little bit more time than Cade Cunningham. So unless they are seeing, and hey, look, we trust them. Their eyes are on this 24/7, and they've been scouting these guys since, the day after last year's draft, if not sooner than that, right? But when I saw that particular report compared to, say, some of the others you and I have been seeing of late, and some of the questions that we've been asking our sources, that one was probably the more of a head scratcher for me. Like, ooh, I hope that's not where the buck stops.
Right. Yeah, that's something that I think that we're definitely going to continue to keep an eye on, because I to be honest with you, them signing him to a long-term deal doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be on the team long-term, because if you can go ahead and get him signed and under contract, they might help you get a deal done for a superstar, because so you can match salaries, because, you have those that have to be within a couple million or a few $1 million in order for the deal to go through. So I understand what Travis Lane's trying to do. I think they're hedging their bets, and they're saying, okay, here's a safety net right here. We can go ahead and get this guy under contract, and we're good with moving forward. But if something comes our way that we can't resist and we can't turn down, hey, DeAndre Hunter might be on his way. But we don't want you to go anywhere. We want you to stay right here on ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T, because coming up next, Orlando Arcia might be the answer. We know Ronald Acuna is the answer, but Arcia might be that short-term fix that the Braves need to continue to try to push for this NL East division and try to catch the New York Mets. We'll talk about all that next because we are Locked On Sports Atlanta and with ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and T.